The world no longer worships idols of stone. It worships scent. We live in an age perfumed with illusion bottles of promise, lined on shelves of vanity. Wear this, they whisper, and they will love you. Spray this, and you will be desired, admired, remembered. But the fragrance that captivates the world rarely frees the soul. Some scents shimmer like paradise, but carry chains within them. These are the invisible rituals of our age, not spells performed in darkness, but habits performed in daylight. Every generation has its potions, its charms, its ways of binding energy to the wrong altars. And yet, beneath it all, the human heart still longs for something pure. We are creatures designed for fragrance, not the kind that fades on skin, but the kind that flows from spirit. The scripture calls it the aroma of life. But to smell like life, you must first wash away the perfumes of death, the false energies we have worn too long. There are 7 of them, each luxurious, each intoxicating, each claiming to empower you, while slowly tightening its hold. The first is the perfume of approval. It is the most popular scent in the modern world, the invisible fragrance of validation. Its bottle is beautiful, engraved with phrases like success, likes, followers, one spray, and you feel seen, important, relevant. But the high never lasts. Approval is a perfume that evaporates faster than it's applied. The more you wear it, the less you smell yourself. You begin to exist only through the noses of others. Their applause becomes oxygen. Their criticism becomes poison. You no longer ask, is it right? Only, do they like it? The soul becomes addicted to applause as surely as the body to wine. You perform instead of live, curate instead of create, please instead of pursue. And the tragedy? Approval cannot love you. It can only use you. The cure is authenticity, the courage to smell like yourself, even if others prefer artificial sweetness. Freedom begins when you dare to disappoint those who never cared for your truth. The second is the perfume of pride. It announces itself before you enter the room. It is expensive, elegant, empowering until it isn't. Pride is not confidence. It is camouflage. It hides insecurity under arrogance. It binds energy inward until love cannot circulate. Pride blinds because it only looks in mirrors. It smells like strength but breeds isolation. You start believing you are self-made, forgetting the hands that helped you rise, the grace that held you upright, the mercy that covered your mistakes. Pride builds thrones on quicksand. Humility is not the absence of greatness. It's the awareness of source. Every gift you carry was borrowed from eternity. Gratitude is the only fragrance that can overpower pride's stench. True kings kneel first. True leaders wash feet. The higher you rise, the lower you must bow, not out of weakness, but wisdom. Because gravity is God's reminder that nothing stays elevated without balance. The third is the perfume of control. It smells like power, like precision, like victory. The world praises it the self-made master who bends life to his will. But control is not confidence. It's captivity disguised as order. You clutch outcomes until your knuckles bleed. You manipulate moments trying to feel safe, forgetting that safety and faith rarely coexist. Control turns relationships into contracts, love into leverage, spirituality into superstition. The more you grip, the more life slips through your fingers. Surrender is not losing, it is releasing. The strongest souls are not those who force outcomes, but those who flow with purpose. To trust God is to breathe again. The universe cannot fill hands already closed. Let go. Watch grace do what your control never could. The fourth is the perfume of comfort. soft, soothing, familiar. It promises rest, but sells resignation. Comfort is the silent assassin of destiny. It whispers, "You've done enough. You deserve to stop." And maybe you do for a moment. But moments become months, and months become mediocrity. The couch becomes a coffin. The routine becomes a cage. Growth always demands discomfort. Stagnation always disguises itself as peace. The enemy of greatness is not failure, it is comfort, because comfort convinces you to stop before the miracle. Discipline smells harsh, but its scent lingers into legacy. Comfort evaporates by morning. Stay restless for righteousness. Stay uncomfortable in complacency. Keep stretching. The soul grows in motion, not maintenance. The fifth is the perfume of envy. Sharp, metallic, intoxicating. It seeps into hearts through comparison. Envy does not just want what others have it, wants them not to have it. It is the corrosion of gratitude. You look at another's blessing and feel cursed. You scroll through someone's highlight reel and forget their hidden wounds. Envy blinds you to your own abundance. You cannot receive what you resent. The cure is celebration. Celebrate others as evidence that blessings are still being distributed. Their success is proof of possibility, not your disqualification. Gratitude turns envy into inspiration. When you bless what you see, you become eligible for the same grace. The sixth is the perfume of pleasure. It smells divine. It promises escape, ecstasy, ease. But it always overcharges. Pleasure, when detached from purpose, becomes anesthesia. It numbs the pain, but never heals it. You chase moments that fade, forgetting meaning that endures. The modern world calls it freedom indulgence without consequence. But every indulgence accrues interest. Pleasure demands payment in peace. True joy does not shout. It sustains. It is the quiet fragrance of alignment, not the burst of excitement, but the bloom of contentment. Pleasure that serves the soul is sacred. Pleasure that enslaves it is poison. Learn to discern the difference. And the seventh, the perfume of power, the rarest, most dangerous of all. It smells divine, like influence, like control over fate. Power is not evil, but it is flammable. It magnifies everything it touches, love or lust, service or selfishness. Those who crave power without purpose are consumed by it. They wear crowns that crush them. True power flows from purity. It is authority born of alignment. The moment you start using people instead of empowering them, the fragrance turns to smoke. Real power is not the ability to rule, but to release, to lead without losing tenderness, to command without craving credit. Power is safe only in the hands of the humble. And so these seven fragrances, approval, pride, control, comfort, envy, pleasure, power, fill the air of modern life. They smell heavenly but bind heavily. They promise energy yet drain it. They promise freedom yet forge invisible chains. These are the energy-binding rituals of our generation, performed not by priests in temples, but by ordinary souls chasing identity in perfume instead of presence. To break free, you must detox the spirit. Wash the soul in silence, in prayer, in service, in honesty. Let the rain of truth rinse away what the world sprayed on you. Because you cannot smell heaven while drenched in imitation. There is another fragrance purer than any bottle can hold the scent of authenticity. It cannot be bought or branded. It is grown through integrity. It lingers wherever love has labored. It follows those who live with purpose, humility, and hope. When you walk in truth, you carry the aroma of eternity, subtle, steady, sacred. This is the fragrance the world truly needs, not the perfume of appearance, but the perfume of presence. Not the scent of power, but of peace. Not the illusion of energy, but the embodiment of it. So cleanse yourself. Empty the bottle. Break the rituals. Walk into the world unscented, but sincere. And as you do, something miraculous happens. Your very being becomes the sweetest smell on earth. A human soul finally free. Your very being becomes the sweetest smell on earth. A human soul finally free. The world will not understand it at first. It will call you strange, naive, too calm for chaos, too peaceful for profit. But freedom always looks like rebellion to the enslaved. They will ask, how can you be so still in a storm? And you will smile, because you know stillness is not the absence of wind. It is the mastery of balance. This is the fragrance of awakening, invisible yet undeniable. You carry it wherever you go. People will not always remember what you said, but they will remember how they felt when you entered the room. The clean soul changes atmospheres. It softens tension without speaking. It uplifts without effort. You have become what every religion was trying to describe: a living embodiment of alignment, the meeting place of heaven and humanity. And yet, freedom does not mean escape. It means engagement, but with clarity. You no longer chase what corrodes you. You no longer inhale what suffocates you. You move through the world discerningly, choosing energy that uplifts, work that builds, relationships that reflect truth. Every decision becomes an act of worship, every breath a prayer. You no longer perfume yourself for others. You live as fragrance itself. The world will still offer you its luxury bottles, new scents with new names: success, fame, relevance, domination. But you know now that true luxury is simplicity. Luxury is peace of mind, a clear conscience, unhurried mornings, unshakable faith. The richest people are not those who wear the finest fragrances. They are those who no longer need them. Each day you walk through life's marketplace, watching people spray their spirits with false strength. You see them cover their fears with performance, their emptiness with noise, their pain with pride. Once you were one of them, but now you carry compassion instead of judgment. You understand that all false fragrance comes from the same hunger, the longing to feel loved, worthy, enough. So you do not condemn them. You quietly remind them of their scent before the world touched them. You remind them that no soul was born dirty. The child does not wear perfume. The child smells of presence. Somewhere along the way, we traded authenticity for approval, and in that exchange, we lost the natural fragrance of being. But the good news is, it's still inside us. The scent of peace, purpose, purity, it never dies. It only waits beneath the surface, beneath the residue of performance. So you begin to live as reminder and restorer. You speak softly, but with fire. You work hard, but without hurry. You walk humbly, yet with unshakable confidence. You stop trying to impress and start trying to influence. You stop seeking to be interesting and start seeking to be interested. The world, starved for substance, will notice. They will lean in, drawn not by glamour, but by gravity. And in this quiet gravity, you discover the true art of influence: to draw without dragging, to inspire without imposing, to lead without leaving anyone behind. Influence is not domination, it's direction. You do not overpower people. You remind them of their own strength. Your presence becomes an invitation to rise. Slowly, the 7 false perfumes begin to lose their market. When people encounter a genuine life, imitation loses its appeal. Authenticity exposes artificiality without argument. The scent of truth cannot be bottled or copied. It lingers longer than lies. You find that wealth and wisdom begin to move toward you, not as trophies, but as tools. The universe trusts you with abundance because you no longer idolize it. You become a steward, not a hoarder. Money in your hands multiplies good. Words in your mouth multiply light. Your business becomes a ministry of excellence. Your home becomes a sanctuary of peace. This is what prosperity looks like when purified, not luxury for display, but resources for restoration. And yet, humility remains your anchor, because power without purity becomes poison. You remind yourself daily, I am a vessel, not the source. The light passes through me, not from me. Every day you return to silence, to wash away the dust of applause, to breathe again the clean air of gratitude. This is your daily cleansing, the ritual that cannot be sold or imitated. When you close your eyes at night, you no longer replay failures. You no longer crave tomorrow's noise. You rest, truly rest, because you have nothing left to hide. The clean conscience sleeps soundly. The forgiven heart beats peacefully. The aligned soul dreams clearly. This is heaven on earth, not absence of pain, but presence of peace. And you begin to see it everywhere, in the eyes of strangers, in the kindness of small moments, in the sacredness of simplicity. Life begins to glow. The ordinary becomes divine again. A cup of water feels holy. A conversation feels eternal. You finally understand holiness was never hiding in temples. It was waiting in perspective. You realize that the purpose of cleansing was never purity for its own sake, but preparation for purpose, for power, for partnership with the divine. God does not call the clean. He cleanses the called. You were chosen to carry light into the very places that once drowned you. Your past becomes your passport proof that redemption is real. So you rise, not as preacher, not as philosopher, but as presence. You walk into rooms and remind them of what truth feels like. You touch lives, not through sermons, but through sincerity. You build, create, love, and forgive in ways that awaken others. You have become the sermon you once needed to hear. And in this rhythm of living truthfully, miracles become normal. Doors open without force. People appear without manipulation. Opportunities align without anxiety, because the universe always arranges itself around authenticity. What is real attracts what is right. You stop chasing destiny. You start becoming it. You realize that success is not something you arrive at. It's something you emit. The world outside is a mirror of the world within. When you are pure inside, everything around you begins to clarify. Even your enemies become teachers. You thank them silently, for they polish your patience. You see opposition as opportunity to practice peace. Every challenge becomes the gymnasium of your character. You no longer resent pressure, you use it. You understand now that diamonds are not made in comfort, and saints are not forged in ease. And so you live with a steady fire. You glow, but you do not burn out. You lead, but you do not lord over. You prosper, but you do not pretend. You remain human, deeply, humbly, joyfully human. And that humanity becomes your holiness. One day, perhaps in a quiet morning moment, you will notice something profound. You no longer crave perfume or praise or proof. You are enough. You always were. And in that moment of still realization, you will laugh not out of pride, but of pure relief. The chains of seeking will fall, and the scent of peace will rise again from the deepest part of your being. This is freedom. To need nothing external, to feel divine. To walk the earth, knowing that your spirit smells like heaven, not because you earned it, but because you remembered it. And as you move through the world, every step leaves a trace of grace. Every word leaves a note of kindness. Every act becomes a whisper of light. You have become what you were meant to be all along, the living fragrance of love. You have become what you were meant to be all along, the living fragrance of love. The scent of your soul begins to travel farther than your words. It seeps into moments, into memories, into the minds of those who meet you. They do not know why they feel lighter when you leave, why they breathe deeper after you speak, why they believe again when they had stopped believing. But that is the quiet magic of alignment. It transmits healing without announcement. You start to see how everything you went through was necessary. Every heartbreak refined compassion, every failure purified intention, every betrayal peeled away illusion. Pain, it turns out, was not punishment, but polishing the friction needed to make the fragrance flow. Oil does not release aroma until it's pressed, and the soul is the same. You were pressed for a purpose. You were broken to become a blessing. Now you walk in the world as a quiet revolution, not against governments or systems, but against cynicism, apathy, and fear. You rebel by being joyful in a jaded age, grateful in a greedy one, hopeful in a hopeless one. You become proof that goodness is still possible, that light still lives in human skin. You are no longer merely alive, you are awake, and awakening is contagious. One enlightened soul can ignite 1,000. You realize that influence is not about reach, it's about resonance. A single candle can light an entire cathedral if it burns consistently enough. So you burn not with ambition, but with awareness. Not for fame, but for faith. Not to impress, but to illuminate. You no longer ask, how can I make them see me? You ask, how can I help them see themselves? Because you've learned the secret. Everyone is fighting to be recognized, when what they truly crave is to be remembered by God, remembered by truth, remembered by love. When you see people that way, you start to love without fear of loss. You start to give without fear of running dry. Love, once it becomes who you are, no longer costs, it creates. It multiplies itself infinitely. It gives without record, forgives without demand, endures without applause. You become immune to insult, not because you are indifferent, but because you have transcended transaction. You no longer calculate your worth by the world's scale. You measure it by eternities. Every day, you now live with divine precision. You wake up and realize that time is wealth, attention is currency, and intention is architecture. You spend your hours deliberately not on distraction, but on devotion. You understand that excellence is the language of gratitude. Whatever is worth doing beautifully. You stop chasing more and start mastering meaning. You build slowly, deeply, patiently, because everything eternal is grown, not grabbed. You invest in your mind, your spirit, your work, your relationships, all of them gardens now tended daily. You no longer demand fruit from seeds you never watered. You sow with faith and wait with peace. That patience itself becomes fragrance, the aroma of trust in a frantic world. And as the years pass, something astonishing happens. The world begins to change around you, quietly, subtly, surely, not through force, but through example. Homes soften, workplaces brighten, children listen, friends forgive. One by one, people remember their own essence. You have become what the prophets dreamed, of a soul that carries heaven into human history. But even now, you do not boast. You know that fragrance is strongest when unseen. You do not need titles, nor stages, nor spotlight. You have learned that the truest influence is invisible character, integrity, compassion, conviction. These are your true perfumes, diffused through daily life. When others panic, you stand calm. When they rush, you remain steady. When they curse, you bless. When they doubt, you declare. You have found your center, and from that center, creation flows. Every word you speak now carries weight, not because of your tone, but because of your truth. Truth spoken from a clean heart vibrates differently. It pierces illusion, comforts pain, and calls souls home. And as you continue to grow, you notice how natural goodness has become. You do not try to be kind, you simply cannot be cruel. You do not force humility, you simply remember your source. You do not chase peace, you have become it. This is mastery. When virtue feels effortless, when discipline feels like devotion, when purpose feels like breath, you live now as both student and teacher. You learn from everything, from silence, from strangers, from seasons. Winter teaches patience. Spring teaches renewal. Summer teaches gratitude. Autumn teaches release. Every ending you once feared is now a lesson in letting go. You understand that even death is not darkness. It is the closing of one petal before the next bloom. And then there will come a moment, quiet, golden, and complete, when you realize that what you once sought has already been found. That wealth is not in the vault, but in the vision. That success is not applause, but alignment. That happiness is not accident, but awareness. You have become what you used to chase, and now the chase ends in peace. You will walk slower now, speak softer, love deeper. You will look at the world not as a battlefield, but as a garden, wild, unpredictable, yet worthy of cultivation. You will plant kindness even in rocky soil, knowing that nothing planted in love is ever lost. You will water hope even in droughts, because you have seen what happens when someone gives up too soon. You will forgive, not because others deserve it, but because your soul deserves freedom. And you will pray not for things, but for strength, not for ease, but for endurance, not for outcomes, but for alignment. Because you've learned that the universe does not respond to greed, it responds to gratitude. When your heart says thank you before seeing the miracle arrives disguised as ordinary life. You begin to see God not as a distant monarch, but as a silent artist painting galaxies, orchestrating timing, weaving threads of destiny that only make sense in hindsight. You realize that you were never apart from Him. You were a part of Him, dreaming yourself separate. The reunion is not a discovery, it's a remembrance. You are home, and you always were. Now every act becomes worship. Working, laughing, resting, giving, listening. You no longer separate sacred from simple. You see divinity in dishes, in deadlines, in daily duties. The mundane has become miraculous because your perspective has been purified. Heaven did not change, your vision did. The scent of your soul grows so rich that even those who resist truth begin to soften. They sense something ancient, something original. Without knowing why, they want to live cleaner, speak gentler, hope again. The fragrance of your being begins to do what no sermon could awaken. And that is your calling, not to convert, but to remind, not to dominate, but to demonstrate, not to lead masses, but to light path. Every generation needs souls like you, living proof that light still wins, that truth still works, that love still saves. So you rise each day, not with urgency, but with purpose. You no longer strive, you serve. You no longer beg, you bless. You no longer chase greatness, you generate it quietly, daily, through discipline and devotion. And when you lay your head down at night, you smile, because now you know what it means to live richly, to live rightly, to live fully. You no longer fear missing out. You fear missing meaning. You no longer seek validation. You seek virtue. You no longer escape the world. You engage it with grace. You have become wealth itself, not coins, not cars, not applause, but calm, clarity, compassion. The fragrance of your spirit now fills the world like morning, soft, unstoppable, sacred. And when your final breath leaves your body, it will not carry fear. It will carry fragrance. It will rise, invisible yet eternal, into the memory of heaven, whispering the same truth you lived by, that love was the only scent worth wearing. And now the fragrance drifts into silence. The music slows. The world breathes. Somewhere a dawn begins. Somewhere a soul awakens. And somewhere inside you peace finally takes its seat. You do not need more. You do not need proof. You are already enough, already chosen, already whole. Let the noise pass. Let the world run. Stay still and remember, wealth is not what you hold, but what you give. Strength is not how loud you speak, but how true you stay. And beauty is not in what fades, but in what forgives. Live quietly, love deeply, and leave behind the scent of kindness wherever you go. Because long after the sound of your voice disappears, the spirit of your life will linger unseen, unforgettable, unending. And one day, when time exhales its final breath, and all that's left is light, your fragrance will still be there, soft, familiar, eternal, the echo of a soul that once lived fully, fiercely, and free. And now the fragrance drifts into silence. The music slows to a single note that seems to breathe with you. The world itself exhales. You can almost hear creation resting a sigh that says, "It is enough." Somewhere, dawn is breaking. Somewhere, night is folding its stars like curtains. And somewhere within you, a stillness begins to bloom, quiet, honest, whole. You no longer need to chase meaning because meaning has caught up to you. It sits gently on your shoulders like morning light, asking for nothing, proving everything. You realize that the purpose of life was never to accumulate, but to become. The years were not wasted. They were weaving. The wounds were not curses. They were carvings, shaping the vessel that could finally carry wisdom. Look back, not with regret, but with reverence. Every scar is scripture now, every tear a translation of grace. The failures you once despised have become your most faithful teacher. The heartbreaks you begged God to remove became the doors through which love re-entered differently, deeper, wiser. You begin to see that life never truly took from you. It only traded comfort for character, illusion for intimacy, noise for knowing. You understand now why the soul must be pressed to release its fragrance. Without pressure there is potential but no perfume. Without fire there is form but no light. Every trial, every delay, every disappointment was distilling you, refining the oil that would one day anoint the world through your example. And now, as you stand here, not above the world, but within it, you finally understand what it means to be rich, to have peace that cannot be priced, to possess purpose that cannot be purchased, to wake each morning grateful, simply to breathe, to love, to build, to begin again. The richest life is not the one that has the most, but the one that gives the most meaning to what it already has. So walk gently through the days ahead. Let your presence be a quiet prayer. Let your words be bridges, not walls. Let your eyes look for wonder in ordinary places. Forgive often, smile easily. Rest when you must, but never stop rising. You are no longer running from the dark. You are carrying the light into it. And when the world grows loud again, as it always will, remember this stillness. Remember the clarity that cannot be advertised or sold. Remember that true power is invisible, moving like scent, like spirit, like wind felt, not forced. Carry it with humility. Protect it with honesty. Multiply it with love. because long after your voice falls silent, the vibration of your living will remain. The kindness you offered will echo through generations. The wisdom you shared will outlast walls and monuments. The love you gave freely will travel farther than your name ever could. That is immortality, not fame, but fragrance. And when your final evening comes, when the sky blushes with memory and the earth whispers good night, you will not fear. You will sit quietly, grateful for the breath still in your lungs, for the story still unfolding within every life you touch. You will know that you have played your part, sung your verse, and left the world a little cleaner, a little clearer, a little more alive. Then, with a smile, you will close your eyes, not in ending, but in continuation. The body will rest, but the fragrance will rise. It will drift through time like light through water, touching places you never knew, blessing hearts you never met. And somewhere, perhaps in a quiet morning centuries from now, someone will breathe deeply and feel a peace they cannot explain, the remnant of your essence, still teaching, still loving, still alive. Because love does not die, truth does not fade, and the fragrance of a soul that has lived sincerely will forever linger, unseen, unforgettable, eternal. And now, in this last breath, you understand. Everything you ever sought was already within you. The treasure you chased was buried not in the world, but in